Supplier ignites passion and creativity. Free your imagination with the slim, sleek, and beautiful new Huawei P8.
It's Techbusters.
Fascinating how the digitization of our world has now even hit the credit cards. And sure, we've had digital credit cards and we've had all sorts of things happening digitally in the background, but it's interesting that the card now has gone into the cloud. It's a virtual card. And this is essentially what Diners Club has launched today. But really, it's more about the card moving to the cloud. It's about eliminating fraud. It's about making the whole process of transacting a lot easier, both from a corporate point of view and the end user as well. It's quite amazing how we've moved into this virtual world, this virtual realm. Tell us technically, in a sense, how this will work.
We've designed the product with the customer in mind, and there's the customer here is the travel management company, the corporate company, and then the supplier, the hotel or the B&B that has to accept the card. So we've designed the product to work in one of two ways. We can either do a deep technical integration into an online booking tool or a GDS that a TMC might supply to a corporate customer, or we offer a cloud-based solution where just logging onto a URL with password-protected access paths, we enable a smaller type business who doesn't need the deep integration to really just go in there, request a virtual card, and then redeem it all the way through to the supplier. From the supplier's perspective, they have a couple of ways to then settle the card. They can either just punch it into a card terminal, the way they do with a key transaction, or they can upload it via their system. So we're eliminating a number of things. We're eliminating manual processes around running supplier bases and debtors books between corporates and hotels, for example. We're eliminating the need for people who travel like you and I, who might not have a corporate card, to actually swipe their personal card and do a whole claim back process with a company. And we're eliminating a great deal of the fraud that happens in cards, where people have to give card details out to different stakeholders in the industry.
Ibrahim, what is virtual card all about?
So in essence, this particular product aims to address a couple of challenges we face in the industry to increase penetration of card payments. A lot of corporates are particularly concerned around managing travel policy and ensuring that there's not abuse. It happens particularly when physical cards are issued. Government has recently issued a directive where none of government officials are allowed to carry physical plastic, and it all stems from concerns around control. So what virtual card aims to do is to address that very concern. So in essence, there is no physical plastic. The card works for one transaction only, so it's a one-time use virtual card, and in essence therefore completely mitigates against the risk of abuse when it comes to the use of a physical card.
That's interesting. So you've actually taken the physical card and moved it up into the cloud, like where everything else is going. It's in the virtual world, yeah. And it's used for security purposes and alleviates any kind of fraud, basically, and makes the whole process seamless, from what I hear you saying.
Absolutely. So you mentioned fraud. It's clearly a massive mitigant against fraud. Serious concerns around card fraud in Africa in particular. I don't know why, because when one looks at fraud numbers, Africa relative to the developing world, the numbers are not big, but of course there are concerns, there are perceptual concerns. This aims to address that. Customers are far more comfortable to use a virtual card, particularly where you do not wish to issue a physical card to staff. There's benefits in terms of reconciliation, which is extremely important component for a corporate. Because you've got one single transaction linked to one card, it aids in the recon process.
Ibrahim, how does one access it and how does it actually work?
It's completely online, so it's a digital process. A customer, and this, as I said, targets our multinational, typically corporate customers. They would contact their normal travel agent, as they would do in the booking of travel. That travel agent has electronic access to the issuing of virtual cards. They will issue an electronic voucher to that particular corporate, which their staff member would use when they check into a hotel, let's say, for example. And at checkout, an electronic authorization happens upon the presentation of that voucher, but it's completely digital process end to end. Each transaction is limited to a particular value. So at the time when you do your booking, the cost for that particular, let's say in this case, hotel accommodation is fixed, and so the card will be issued against that fixed value. So of course in certain instances there may be peripheral charges that kick in and they're legitimate, but the product also allows for those instances to take place and accommodates them.
Great chatting to you, Ibrahim.
Thank you. Thank you.
Diners Club going virtually in the cloud, eliminating fraud and a whole lot of other things. Fascinating how the financial industry is changing and adapting to a fast-changing technological world.
I think one of the biggest problems I had within the travel space was obviously that I couldn't track a lot of my expenses. So ideally I wanted to pay the accommodation owners directly. So I think the virtual card is going to be an answer to some of my problems that I've got.
It's a very good initiative in terms of the reconciling invoicing, because that's been the biggest problem we had.
What I've actually noticed today is that as soon as a client has booked, it's going to be recorded and that data is going to be sent, and we're going to be initiating a new process. So it's going to limit, it's definitely going to limit. It's going to work out very better.
I think that it's going to be a huge value add for us as travel management companies. Diners, it's an innovative product, and I think it's going to change the way we do business into the future, which is exciting.